What are the best implants for every single mech? So that's a question that a lot of people will have. So today we're going to be going through all the mechs from tier 1 all the way to tier 10, talking about which implants you should use on each mech. I'll have timestamps in the description so you can skip to the mech that you want to see the most. So alright, let's get into it. Starting off in tier 1, we have Paragon. Paragon has two ability implant options, ability cooldown and ability duration. I would go with ability cooldown because generally with Paragon you're just going to be using any guided weapon or sniper weapon sitting in the back and doing your job. So duration is kind of pointless. It's rare that you use your ability. You're just going to be using your ability to change positions for a certain amount of time. So it's not going to be useful. I'll just go with the ability cooldown for like any Paragon build, obviously. So that's it for the Paragon. Now we will go to Lancer. Lancer has two implant options, ability cooldown and Lancer jump distance. I would go with the cooldown. The jump distance is kind of pointless on my opinion. For Lacewing you would use jump distance, but that I'll talk about that when we get to Lacewing. For Lancer it's not useful. It's because it's not going to be a big difference in general. For Lacewing you use the jump distance just because you can have higher ground while you're in the air. So since it can redirect itself in midair, it's going to be easier to like angle your shots. So staying in the air for a longer time is the main reason you use jump distance on Lacewing. For Lancer I would say it's kind of pointless. It's not going to be really effective. It's not going to be useful effectively. When it comes to tier 2 we have Puma. Puma we have 4 implant options. So we have ability cooldown and duration with shield height and shield durability. The cooldown is the one I would go for. The duration is kind of pointless because if the shield goes down quickly, you're waiting for a longer duration to get your ability back, which is not a good idea. So the shield wall is very weak, so it would go down pretty much significantly quickly. So it's not worth using duration. The shield wall durability could be useful, but it won't make a big difference either. The height is pretty decent. I would go with the height. The height could be helpful against like weapons like Helix or something, like up and over guided weapons, so you can like stand over the shield and just take some shots. So that would be pretty useful. The durability, I'm not sure. It could be good, but it's not like it's gonna make a big difference anyways. So I would go classically with the ability cooldown and like the shield wall height, if that's what it is. Next up we have Slingshot. Slingshot we have 3 to 4 ability implants. So we have cooldown, damage, radius, distance. So we have like 4 implants. So I would say the cooldown and dash distance are the best option. The damage effective, you're not going to be using a slingshot to deal any damage with your dash, in period. Like you're not going to be using slingshot to deal any damage with your dash. It's next to impossible. And the dash distance is basically simple. You just cover more ground quickly and like escape out of situations. So that's where I would go for the dash distance. Radius is useless. It's just the damage radius. I wouldn't bother with radius at all. So I would just go with ability cooldown and dash distance. The remaining implants are like they just exist because they exist. Not useful for Slingshot. Next up we have Juggernaut. Juggernaut we have 3 ability implants, ability cooldown, duration, and Juggernaut shield durability. We have 3 implants. I would go with the ability cooldown. Duration is a bad idea again because if your shield goes down faster, you're waiting for a longer duration to get your shield back. So duration is pointless. The shield durability could be pretty useful, and I would say it's one that's worth going for. It's also credits, so I think it's not a bad idea. But again, like who's using this mech that often? So like I would say just a cooldown, and like if you have the implant you could use it, but I don't say it's like a big difference. Next up we have Yemd. Yemd we have 4 implant options, ability cooldown, duration, and heal speed and repair radius. For Yemd it's kind of like you go with cooldown. Cooldown is good. The duration is kind of not that necessary. The duration is like you get a bit more heal. The duration, if you have like a max ability duration implant, it's gonna be like 13 seconds I suppose. It's gonna be like added 3 seconds extra. It's not that gonna make that much of a big difference. The heal speed implant is really useful, honestly. Like the heal speed implant is very, very good. It makes a big difference with and without the implant. So if you're like running Yemd, I would say the heal speed implant is gonna be really strong. You have good teammates, you can make good use of it. The radius is pointless, you're gonna be in your teammate's face anyways, so the radius is not worth using at all. I would just go with the ability cooldown and heal speed. Those are the two best options for your MD. Next up we get into tier 3, we have Guardian. So Guardian, we have 3 implants, ability cooldown, crash distance, and crash width. For Guardian, there are 2 important implants that you must go for, both ability cooldown and crash distance. Both are really important, simply because the cooldown is just obvious, it's 15 seconds. If you use a cooldown implant, it's going to be reduced by 10 seconds, which is pretty good. And the crash distance makes a big difference on Guardian. If you're using Guardian like higher levels, and like my SP is like 7,000, if you're like using Guardian like high SP, the crash distance implant is very important. I don't recommend you skip out on that. It's really important for this mech. So if you have the option to get it, definitely go for it. The width is not going to make any difference in general. It could be useful in like 1 or 2 situations, but it's not that big. The width is already 60 meters. It's not going to be enough. Most of the time you could be able to get all your enemies in one go anyways. Shadow, we have 3 implant options, ability cooldown, duration, and stealth speed. For Shadow, I would go with ability duration because it's the longer number here, and we try to increase that even further. The cooldown is also worth going for because it gets your cooldown to like 5 seconds, I suppose. The stealth speed can be good, but it's not worth the 608 coins. It's not gonna make like a big difference. It's like 15%. For a mech like Shadow, I would say it's not that necessary. With Shadow, you're just gonna be using some kind of passive weapon like Storm Rack or like Pod Gun, those weapons that you're gonna be using long range guns to like do stuff. If you're like using close quarter weapons on your Shadow, which is pretty rare, you could go with stealth speed, but that's just up to your personal preference. I would personally say just cooldown, duration, best options for Shadow. When we get to Ares, we have 2 implant options, ability cooldown and ability durability. It's the shield durability. So a cooldown is the best option to go for. The shield durability could be pretty useful. It increases the percentage by 30%, which is pretty good. It can be useful, but again, it costs 8 coins, and it's like not that worth it in my opinion. You could go, the shield durability maxed out is like 43,000, so it's almost 44,000. It's pretty good, not necessary to use an implant for that. Next we have Stalker. With Stalker we have like 5 ability implants, I suppose. So we have ability cooldown and ability duration, and we have Predator Drive damage boost, heal, and Predator Drive penalty. So I would say the damage boost implant on Stalker does not work. It does not work. It's not, if you have it in your Stalker, you better take it off. It's basically a waste of your implant slot. The ability implant does not work at all. Unless they fix it, it's not gonna work. The heal is pretty good. I would go for that. It can be useful. It depending on the weapons you're using on Stalker. If you're using some weapons that like require you to expose yourself for a bit, I would go with the heal. The penalty could be useful, I would say, but it's not necessary. This implant is pointless, I would say. It's not that necessarily using. This implant is just, it doesn't work at all, so it's not worth using. The heal is pretty good, and I would go with like ability cooldown. Duration could be useful, but that kind of depends on the weapons you're using. I would just personally go with cooldown. It would be the best main implant for Stalker. The heal is just up to you whether you want either or not. Next we have Tengu. Tengu we have a total of 4 ability implants. So we have like ability damage or sky strike damage, based the same thing, stealth duration and stasis duration, and ability cooldown. Ability cooldown is just classic. You go with any mech, it's going to be ability cooldown. You go with that. I would go with stealth duration, sky strike stealth duration, because with an ability cooldown, maxed out legendary cooldown implant and stealth duration, you get like permanent stealth on your Tengu, which is pretty good. It helps you can like jump on top of buildings on Tengu on some CPC maps and like have infinite stealth on top of a building. It's pretty useful. If we're using weapons like Storm Racks, it's just gonna be great. For like Sky Strike damage is good. If you're using weapons like Paragon on your Tengu, you could just rip the mod shields quickly and just you finish them off with your ability. It's pretty good. The stasis duration is pointless. The stasis duration is like 5 seconds. It's not worth going for, on my opinion. Not worth going for. So I would just go with stealth. Most of the time I'll go with stealth duration and ability cooldown. This implant is kind of depending on whether you use close quarter weapons or not. So that's for the Tengu. Next we get into tier 5. We have Redeemer has only one implant option, which is ability cooldown. You go with ability cooldown because it's 14 seconds. It reduces up to 9, I suppose, 9 seconds. So it's pretty useful. Cooldown for Redeemer, just ability cooldown. You just have it's recommended implant. You have to go for it. Next we have Aegis. Aegis we have 3 ability implants: ability cooldown duration and dome shield radius. So the radius is not useful. The radius is like, most of the time it's going to be like either you or like 1 or 2 teammates going to be inside the dome shield. So the radius is pointless. I don't see the reason to use radius. The radius is 10 meters, already pretty long enough. So I wouldn't go with the radius. Duration is also not useful because the duration simply is because if your dome shield goes down faster than your duration, you're waiting for a longer duration to get your ability cooldown back. Simple principle for like any mech that has a shield durability, not worth using duration. Cooldown is the main implant I would go for the Aegis, and cooldown for like just any build that you use on Aegis is cooldown's the obvious option I'd go for. Next we have Zephyr. Zephyr we have 3 implant options: ability cooldown, duration, and Zephyr pulse range. I would go with both cooldown and duration. Duration is just like you get an extra second. It gives you enough time to kill your target. The cooldown is just obvious, it just reduces the cooldown. The range implant could be useful, but it kind of depends on if you have it or not. It's a pay to win implant, so I don't think most people have it. So if you have it, you definitely need to use it. It's going to be pretty useful for your Zephyr. If you're using like revokers, it's going to be helpful. So but in general, I'll just go with like cooldown, duration. It's going to be the best option for Zephyr. Next we have Cheetah. Cheetah we have like three options, I suppose. So it's like ability cooldown, ability damage, or like mech specific damage, and then mind radius. So cooldown, I'll go for cooldown. The ability damage is pretty useful on Cheetah, I would say. It just increases your damage output. It is the highest damage output ability in the game, like outside of like other. Orion is like it increases your weapon damage output, but that's different. This ability deals damage directly, so it deals the most damage. So I would go with like ability damage and just ability cooldown. The radius is pointless on my opinion. The radius is not that useful. It exists because it exists. It's not that useful. It's 12-meter radius. You're guaranteed. If the enemy is with the steps on your mind, they're guaranteed taking damage from it, regardless. Next up, we have Panther. We have 4 implants for Panther. We have ability cooldown duration, and we have stasis barrier height and stasis Panther stasis time. So the stasis time, I would say, is kind of useless. It's not worth using. The stasis time is pointless. The stasis barrier height is something, if you have the implant, I would definitely use it, because again, like for the same principle for Puma. If you have like enemies using a helix rack or something, you could like stand in front of your shield and block the shots, overhead shots. So it's gonna be pretty useful stasis barrier height. So cooldown is something I'll go for Panther. Duration on Panther is actually not a bad idea because it's an indestructible shield, unless it's like a system crash from Gurdian or like Outlaw. The only things are going to take your shield down. Pretty much nothing can take your shield down. As long as you place it properly, it can be pretty useful. Depending on the weapons you're using, I would go for duration. Using sustain fire weapons, duration could be a good option. But our classic is an ability cooldown I would go for on Panther. Next up we have Killshot. Killshot we have total of 4 ability implants. So we have dash distance, radius, damage, and ability cooldown. Again, ability cooldown is the one you should go for just any mech in general. I would go for dash distance on Killshot. These 2 implants are pointless because radius is just a damage radius, not useful at all. Damage, it's basically, Killshot's damage output is higher, but in general, dash is going to take down like 1 multi-layer shield. Is it useful? Nope, it's not. So just go for ability cooldown, and dash distance is the best option to go for. Next up we have Sentinel. Sentinel we have 2 ability implant options. We have the shield HP and ability cooldown. Again, cooldown is the one you should go for. For Sentinel, the shield HP could be useful, I suppose. The shield is not like, the shield is still pretty weak, but even with the implant, it's not going to make it useful. It's the same thing for like Ares. Like the shield implant could be useful, but it's not going to make like a big difference in general. So I would say it's not worth spending any resources on buying these implants. It's worthless. If you have the implant for free or something, you could use it, but it's not going to make a big difference. So just go for ability cooldown. It's the classic. go for. For Orion, we have ability cooldown duration, piercing, and stasis time. We have 4 implant options. For Orion, there are 2 implants you should go for just any build that you use on Orion. 2 major implants you should go for. Ability cooldown and Orion shield piercing. Very important implants you should go for. Why? I'll explain why as well. So ability cooldown is just obvious. You reduce the cooldown is 12 seconds. You reduce that to like at least like 9 seconds or 8 seconds I suppose. And the shield pierce is just because once you have shield pierce on Orion, you don't have to worry about mods anymore. Basically with shield pierce implant, if you have weapons like railguns or EMs, you can just one-shot your enemy through their shields, and it helps a lot. The shield pierce implant is really worth it. It's 600 acorns, is worth it. You must get it if you're using Orion. It's going to be like your endgame mech. Orion will be your endgame mech. So you should definitely go for like Orion shield pierce. It's really useful. The stasis time and duration are not worth it. The duration is like, the duration is 10 seconds, and like in general, your enemy is not going to survive 10 seconds of being marked anyways. So the duration is kind of pointless on Orion. Stasis time is not that useful. It's the stasis time is like 3 seconds I suppose. Yes, it's 3 seconds. It's pretty much enough time for your enemy to just stay out and open. Just like load them up with some magazine, so you kill them. Pretty simple. Now we get to tier 7. We have Redox. Redox, we have ability cooldown duration. We have radius and damage. So for Redox, I would go with ability damage and ability duration, and the cooldown. All 3 implants I'd go for. The radius could be also pretty useful because the radius is around like 30 meters. It could be helpful. The radius is increased up to like 32 meters, so it's going to be like around 40 meters I suppose. So it's going to be pretty useful. Radius could be pretty useful in my opinion. Could be. But Redox is kind of like, it requires too many ability implants, so I'll just go with like cooldown and damage and like radius if you have that. That's what I'll go for Redox. Next we have Scorpius. Scorpius, we have some implant options. Not here. Here we have range, damage, and ability cooldown. So which one you would go for? The range is something, it could be pretty useful. You can go for range. Range is actually pretty useful. Helps you get there. The ability damage is just obvious. It increases your damage even further. And cooldown is the one to go for. So I'll generally go for cooldown and damage. The range is useful, but it's 75 meters, so I don't think it's like that useful. Most of the time they're going to be like stealth enemies, so you're not going to get them with your ability most of the time. So I'll just go for like cooldown and like damage. Classic ability implants that you go for Scorpius. Next we have Surge. Surge, we have implants radius, dash distance, ability cooldown, and duration. For Surge, 2 implants that you must focus on, and you should not skip out on either of them. Dash distance and ability duration are very implant heavy for Surge. You should definitely go for both. For like any close quarter build or any sustain fire build you're going to go for Surge, you should definitely go for it. I'll explain why. So basically, duration is pretty simple. If your enemy has like high level mods or like really tanky, the duration will just give you extra time to just kill your target, so it just helps in that. So also it's like a Surge. If you're like facing a Surge, a 1v1 Surge situation, whoever has the longer duration is going to have the upper hand. So like Surge, I would say duration is the most important. The dash distance is just obvious. You cover more ground quickly and it's going to be more useful. So like for CPC, I would say like dash distance is going to be useful, and also FFA is going to be useful. So like dash distance and ability duration are very important for Surge. The radius is not that useful because it's a matter of whether you get them with the radius or not. Most of the time, the radius is 15 meters. Pretty much it's easy to get them with the radius as long as you're like dashing towards your enemy properly. So the radius is not that useful in my opinion. It's not worth using. The cooldown is obvious. So it's like one of the common builds I've seen with Surge is like Revoker Surge. So if you're going to go with like Revoker Surge, I would just go for like implants. Implants ability cooldown, duration, dash distance, and Revoker damage. Just use 3 ability implants for Surge and just 1 Revoker implant. That's the implant you go for Surge. Next up we have Eclipse. For Eclipse, we have ability implants, ability cooldown, duration, and stealth speed. For Eclipse is like one of those mechs where it doesn't require ability implants to succeed because it has a long duration and a short cooldown, but implants could be very useful depending on the build you go for. So like one of the common builds I've seen for Eclipse is like Revoker Eclipse. So for Revoker Eclipse, I would personally go with ability cooldown, duration, and stealth speed, and then Revoker damage. If you're using Revoker on scouts, I wouldn't go for range. Range is a bad idea because the bolt goes further away. It takes a long time to get that bolt back. So it's like waiting for a very long time. So I would just go for like 3 ability implants, just boost your ability efficiency to the maximum. So you can like get there to your enemy closer quickly, so that's going to be more useful. So I would go for like those 4 implants: ability cooldown, duration, and physical speed, and revoker damage. Like other builds you see on Eclipse are like minigun Eclipse, Stormrack, or Podgun. For Stormrack Podgun, you just go with cooldown, and like you just go full implants. For minigun, I would just go for like all 3 weapon implants and like duration. Duration is just because you could stay out in the open longer and fire your weapons. It's gonna be useful for that, I would say. So like ability duration is gonna help you using sustain for weapons. If you use sustain for weapons like Overdriver or like minigun, I would say duration is a very useful one. Duration is gonna be pretty useful for Eclipse on sustain for weapons. So that's it for Eclipse. Now we get to Brickhouse. Brickhouse, we have ability radius and damage, duration, and cooldown. So we have 4 implants for Brickhouse. Brickhouse, I would go for cooldown. The duration could be useful, but it's not that big of a difference, so I would skip on the duration. The cooldown is good. The radius is not useful at all. Basically the same thing for EMT. It's like, are you going to be near your teammates to use your ability? That's the question we have here. Most of the time, Brickhouse is slow. It's 14 kph. Most of the time, people are like focused on aggro in this game, so the radius is useless. You're not going to be using the ability for any of your teammates in general. It's just going to be for yourself most of the time. So the damage, Brickhouse overcharger damage boost does not work. The same thing for Stalker, the ability implant doesn't work. So I wouldn't use that implant. It's just a waste. I'll just go for cooldown. Just obvious, cooldown is the best implant for Brickhouse. Duration, I'll just skip on that. And like these implants are like useless as well. So I'll just go for cooldown on Brickhouse. It's the best option to go for. Next we have Gatecrasher. Gatecrasher, we have 3 ability implants, I suppose. So we have radius, length, and cooldown. So cooldown is obvious, you go for cooldown. Like also there's ability damage. I go for ability damage. These 2 implants are completely useless. Radius is just like the explosion radius. When you stick the ion pod to one person, it explodes and like you get other people. Most of the time the radius is just going to hit like one perimeter multi-layer, and it's just going to take down 1 layer. So this is useless on my opinion. The beam length is useless. Nobody's going to be staying in the same place and taking damage from your ion pod. So I don't see the use of either of these implants. So for Gatecrasher, I'll just go with ability cooldown and ability damage. Those are the best implants I would go for. Next we have Onyx. Onyx, we have ability damage, radius, and range, and cooldown. So we have 4 implants options for Onyx. I would go with the ability radius. It's pretty useful. The radius is just so that you can get the radius back damage on your enemy. So you can like deal back damage to them, which increases your damage output, which is really useful. The ability damage and cooldown are like obvious, you go for those as well. So like depending on your build, so I just go for like cooldown and like ability damage. Radius, if you're pretty accurate with your shots, you can go for that. Radius is 7 meters. With a maxed radius implant, you get like 12 meters, which is pretty useful, but it's not like necessary. If you're good with hitting your shots, it's just like not necessarily important. Next up we have Nomad. Nomad, we have ability damage, dash time, dash distance. And we have ability damage and just cooldown, the classic stuff. So for Nomad, I would go with a dash distance. It's really good. It increases your dash distance all the way up to 60 meters, which is like really useful. Especially if you're dashing 2 times, you cover like 120 meters, which is very good for Nomad. Dash distance helps a lot. Dash time is like it gives you like more extra seconds for like when you use your second dash, which I would say it kind of depends on the build that you're using. If you're like going with Revoker Nomad, which is one of the classic builds, I would go with ability cooldown, dash time, and dash distance, so just Revoker damage. The dash time is like you dash to one target, you kill one target, and then you have like time to dash again to another target to do the same thing. So yeah, the dash time I would say is pretty useful. Damage is not useful. Damage is just like you, Nomad, for like just any dash mech in general, the dash damage implant is not worth using at all. The reason is because the dash damage, you're just gonna hit like one perimeter multi-layer and take down one layer, so it's not useful in my opinion. So you just go for ability cooldown and like dash distance and dash time. If you have that implant, it would be good to go for. And revoker damage, classic stuff that you're going to go for with Nomad. Next we have Lacewing. Lacewing we have mine damage, jump distance, and mine radius and ability cooldown, classic stuff. For Lacewing you would go for jump distance. For Lancer I say you should not go for jump distance on Lancer, but for Lacewing you should go. The reason is because Lacewing you jump higher and you're going to be, since Lacewing can redirect itself midair, you can stay in the air longer to redirect yourself and angle your shots pretty well. So like Lacewing with jump distance is going to be really useful. Radius is pointless, it's not worth using, and the damage is like, it's not worth it at all. Damage is not useful. For Lacewing you're not going to be using the mines to do anything, they just are there because they're there. The main reason you use Lacewing is just because you can like jump on top of buildings and use storm racks and lay it rain down. So like one of the common builds for Lacewing is storm rack Lacewing, so I would go with ability cooldown, jump distance, and like storm rack damage and just reload. Those are the 4 implants I would go for Lacewing. So that's about Lacewing. Next we have Bastion. Bastion we have blast shield damage, blast shield radius, and we have ability cooldown. So like and ability damage, just same thing. So for Bastion I would go with blast shield radius. The radius could be pretty useful. It would like increase your radius to like above 40 meters, which is pretty useful if you're like using weapons like Revoker. If your enemies try to like poke your shield from a distance with that, so the radius would be pretty useful, I would say. And like the damage is pointless because again the damage is like taking down one multi-layer shield, so the damage is not worth going for. So for Bastion I would go for like ability cooldown and blast shield radius. Those are the 2 implants I would go for Bastion. And like EMP duration is there, but you for Bastion you cannot increase the duration with any implant. So like in general just go for cooldown and blast shield radius. Next up we have Vortex. Vortex we have ability cooldown duration and ability damage, weapon or mech specific damage, and then radius. For Vortex I would go with cooldown because the cooldown is very long, you want to reduce that. Duration I wouldn't say it's worth going for. Duration kind of depends on the weapons you use on Vortex, but it's not worth it. Duration is not going to make a big difference. It's going to be like 10 seconds if you use a max legendary duration implant, which is not worth it on my opinion. Ability damage could be useful, but again, it's like not worth going for. Radius, it's like it's not going to make a big difference in general. So I would go for Vortex I would just go for ability cooldown, and like if you want you can go for ability damage. It's better than the duration, honestly. Just deal more damage with your ability. So that's it for Vortex. Now we get to Hemlock. Hemlock we have EMP and days duration, days delay and EMP delay, and we have the ability cooldown and duration. Those are like specific ones. Go for it. For Hemlock, the duration, the ability cooldown is long, so you go for ability cooldown, legendary max cooldown, and I would go for EMP days delay. You can get this implant from like what is it called? This season pass event. Get the season pass. If you're paying for the season pass, I would say it's worth getting this implant. If you're paying for the battle pass, if you're not paying for the battle pass, you can forget that. It's just about that. Now we get to Hemlock. We have the ability cooldown. You go for EMP or days delay. The delay is actually pretty useful, honestly. The days, it actually prevents your enemies from getting back into cover, which means the effect takes the EMP days takes effect quickly, so that means your enemy won't be able to get inside cover quickly. So that's pretty useful. This implant is 608 coins. I would say it's pretty useful, but you can just go with ability duration and get the same performance. For Hemlock, I would say ability cooldown and duration are like the best options to go for. One of the common builds I see for Hemlock is Stormrack Hemlock. For that, you would just go for like ability cooldown, duration, days delay, and Stormrack reload. You could take off the delay and use damage if you want, but I would say delay is pretty useful. It just prevents your enemies from getting into hiding spots quickly. So like delay is pretty useful on my opinion. It makes a big difference, honestly. So next we have Solis. Solis we have ability cooldown and ability duration along with radius. So the classic stuff. For Solis, it's classic. You just go with ability cooldown. Duration could be pretty useful, honestly. For Radius, I wouldn't bother using. Radius is kind of pointless. It exists because it exists, not worth using. Because Radius is like, you blind them through walls. So the question is like, do you need to blind them through walls? It's not necessarily important. So I would go with just ability cooldown and duration. Duration is just obvious. With like ability cooldown, maxed legendary cooldown, maxed duration, like ability cooldown modifier is there. You could just permanently keep blinding people, and it's just annoying with that, I'd say. Next up we have Seeker. Seeker, we have ability cooldown, we have bonus damage, range, shield HP, and the classic stuff. So for Seeker, I would go with ability cooldown and ability range. Seeker warp range. The range is just because it increases your range to 130 meters, and the range is very, very important. I would say it's really useful if you're using weapons like Revoker or like any close quarter weapon that you're going to classically use on Seeker. It's going to help you teleport further away to your enemies that are hiding behind the back with annoying weapons. If any annoying support mech or anything standing behind the back and like giving you trouble, is range implant going to be pretty useful. The bonus damage is also a pretty good one. You could go for that. If you're like using Revoker Seeker, I would go for ability cooldown, warp range, bonus damage, and just Revoker damage. It's a really good implant for like assassinating people that are sitting back with annoying support builds. The HP is not worth using. The shield HP is like whatever, it just exists because it exists. Not worth using the shield HP. Next up, so that's it for that. For Seeker, I would just go with ability cooldown. If you have the bonus damage, you could use it, but it's a pay to win item, so I don't think most people will have that. But it's worth using. If you have it, it's worth using. And just like range, Seeker warp range is just the best stuff you go for. Next up, we have Outlaw. Outlaw, we have ability cooldown, we have foul play range, foul play radius. For Outlaw, I would go with cooldown and foul play range. Cooldown is just obvious, just like Gurdian. The cooldown is long if you want to reduce that to like 10 seconds, the max cooldown implant. Range is just like you get 130 meters, which is very useful. It's going to be able to, it's going to make you hit people longer. But the longer the range, you have to keep in mind, the longer the range, the longer it takes for the ability to take effect, because foul play has delay because it's a status effect which applies to system crash. So it's a long range. So I would say it increases the range up to 130 meters, which is pretty useful. But again, you have to keep in mind of like it's long range, so it's going to take a while for the ability to take effect. So that's one thing everyone has to keep in mind of. So I would say both implants, ability cooldown and foul play range, are very important for Outlaw, and I would definitely say both are worth using. Next up, we have Dreadnought. Dreadnought, we have ability cooldown, wipeout damage, wipeout area size, and just the classic stuff we have here, and just ability damage. So for Dreadnought, I would go with cooldown. The damage, actually, I don't think it's useful. If you're Dreadnought in higher SPs, I would say the damage is not useful. The reason is because most of the time it's going to be like taking down one perimeter multiplayer. Mods do reduce the effectiveness of Dreadnought's ability, so I would say the damage is not one we want to go for. The area wipeout size is worth going for. The wipeout size could increase your range. I would say it's pretty decent, but again, it's like 32 meters without the implant, so I think that's just good enough for a Dreadnought. There are no implants to increase the duration. Sadly, the duration is just spaced 2 seconds, the EMP duration. So there are no implants to increase it, which is sad, but I would say like it doesn't matter. It's just gonna be like have like weapons like Storm Axe, so you can just kill them faster within like 2 seconds of EMP time. Anyways, next up we have Volti. Volti, we have a lot of implants to go for. We have ability cooldown and duration. We have the thunderstorm damage, Volti radius, and duration, tick rate, and all those things you have. So for Volti, I would go with ability cooldown, obviously, and the duration. For Volti specifically, you need a lot of ability implants to like make its ability really good. So it's like you have to use the damage, the tick rate, and like the radius is pointless. I don't see any reason to use that. Radius is like the radius. If there are two enemies standing next to each other, the duration just gets reduced faster, which is not good. So the radius is pointless. I wouldn't go for radius. If for Volti, I would just go for ability cooldown. For like tick rate, I would go for tick rate. It reduces the tick rate from 0.7 to 0.5 seconds, which is not a big difference, I would say, but it could be pretty useful. Damage, is the main one I would go for. For like quality, I would just go for cooldown and damage. The tick rate, I don't think most people have it, so I would just go for the cooldown and damage. Duration you could go for if you want. It's not gonna make a big difference in general. So the duration is gonna increase like 7 or 8 seconds. So yeah, so I would just go for like classic ability cooldown and ability damage. Next up we have Mimicker. We have ability cooldown, duration. We have adaptation range, and that's it for that. So we have the 3 implants in general for Mimicker. So cooldown, I would go for Mimicker. Duration could be useful for Mimicker, but that actually depends on what boost you use on your Mimicker. For personally, I would say like the repair. If you use duration, it could benefit you in terms of stealth and repair, because it will increase the amount of healing you get and increase the amount of duration you have. So I would say for Mimicker, it's worth going for duration. The only bad idea for duration is like the shield. If the shield goes down faster, you're just waiting for a longer time to get your ability back, which is the only issue. The range, I would say, is kind of like not necessary. 100 meters range is just enough most of the time. It's going to increase you to 30 meters with the max duration implant anyways. The range implant is not that useful in my opinion. It just doesn't make, it's a mild difference, so it's not that worth using in my opinion. Next up we have Parasite. Parasite, we have ability cooldown and duration. We have redirection damage, redirection cooldown, redirection range. So we have these implants. For Parasite, I would just go with ability cooldown. Ability duration is also useful on Parasite. It just increases your duration, so you can like go out in the open and fight for longer. That's pretty useful. The ability range is basically like, it just increases your like activation range, I suppose. Activation range. I'm not 100% sure about this ability range implant. I'm not sure which one increases, but it just increases, I would just assume it increases your activation range. So it would be pretty useful if it did, but that's like, again, it's a pay-to-win implant, so it costs a lot. So if you have that implant, I would say it's worth using the activation range. But in general for Parasite, I would just go with ability cooldown, duration. Those are the most important implants for Parasite, and I would go for both of those. Those are pretty good. But these other implants, I would skip it. The redirection damage is like, you're not going to be killing anybody with your implant. It's basically a way to like prevent people from shooting you. So that's the reason you would use this ability. The damage is like up to you. Depending on the build you're going for Parasite, I would use that. Next we have Block-Horn. Block-Horn, we have ability cooldown, duration. Again, we have amp zone damage, ability durability, and like amp zone size and stuff like that. For Block-Horn, the ability damage boost implant does not work. Again, the same thing for Brickhouse and Stalker. The same thing applies to this as well. The ability damage boost implant does not work at all. So you're gonna go, durability is a pretty good one to go for. If you add the durability on a maxed Block-Horn, it's basically same HP as Aegis Dome HP. So that's a good one to go for. The cooldown, I would say it's just obvious. You go with ability cooldown. Duration is not useful. Just again, it's a durability based shield. So if your shield goes down faster, you're waiting for a longer duration to get your ability back. So that duration is a bad idea on any mech that just has a shield that has durability. So I would just go with classically with the ability cooldown and like shield durability depending on the build that you're using it for. So that's it for the Block-Horn. The amp zone size is pretty useless. I didn't talk about that because it's just pointless to say it. For Deathwalker, we have ability cooldown, duration, and HP restoration. For Deathwalker, there are 2 implants that you must focus on for just any Deathwalker build in general. For ability cooldown and ability duration, very important implants for Deathwalkers. You should not skip out on either of those. The cooldown is just obvious. You need your implant just in case if anybody engages you, and it just reduces the cooldown so you can get back in action quickly. So the cooldown is just you must go for. And like the duration is even more important because you just chase down people for longer, forcing them to kill you so you can resurrect back to your point. So and like it helps a lot when you're capturing beacons and CPC. So like duration is very important. Like it's more important than the cooldown obviously. So I would recommend you should definitely have both implants on any build you're using. You should not skip out on either of those. The HP restoration is kind of pointless in my opinion. It's not worth using. It doesn't make a big difference in general. Most of the time Deathwalker just resurrects back. It has full HP anyways. It's not going to be like make a big difference in general. The HP restoration is like 10%. It's just good enough. It's not worth using that implant anyways. Next up we have Salvor. With Salvor we have ability cooldown, ability range, and ability heal. So for Salvor I would go with ability cooldown. Ability cooldown is obvious, the cooldown is very long, and like heal is very useful. It just increases your healing output by 30%, I would suppose. The epic one is also really good. I plan to pick this up sometime soon. It's 23%, it's very useful. The range is actually kind of pointless. It's a waste of your implant slot, I would say. The range is like whether your teammates are within the 100 meters or not. Most of the time you just have to cooperate with your teammates and get that done. I don't think it's not worth using range implant on Salvor, honestly. You just go with the ability cooldown and heal percentage. So the healing output is more important than the range. So you just get more healing output and support your teammates. It's pretty useful for that, I would say. Next up we have the last mech, which is Silverthorn. This is the newest one to the addition to the game. So we have the ability cooldown is 7 seconds and ability duration, which you can increase the duration with this. With ability duration, you can't use the duration on this mech, so you go for ability cooldown. The radius is pretty useless on this mech. The radius is like you hit the enemy with your blades and the blades explode. That damage radius is considered as the radius for this mech. So the radius, I would say, is pointless. You don't use the radius at all. It's not useful. The speed is like increases your blade speed. I don't see that useful either. It's not worth it. So these two implants, I don't know why they exist. It's useless. Slowdown could be useful. You can like keep your enemies out and open for longer, and like you can use your weapons to finish them off. So that's that. And like ability damage is also there. Ability damage, you could use that. It's pretty useful. But in general, I would say this mech is not going to be doing that much anyway. So it's kind of like what implants you would go for are like important. So like I would go for like cooldown and just damage. The other implants I would just skip out on. These implants are like completely useless. The slowdown, if you have it, you could use it, but it's not going to make a big difference either. The slowdown is like, do they have a duration for the slowdown anyways? Nope, they don't have a duration here, sadly. So like the slowdown is just going to increase it by like a small percentage. So this mech is kind of garbage anyways. It's not useful because its ability is like the ability does not bypass mods anyways. The mod shields completely counter this. Its status effect, so Eclipse counters this as well. Not surprised there. The status effect also does not bypass mods, which is bad. And like generally it may look like this mech has good stats, but like this mech is kind of useless. Like honestly, like what is the use of this mech? Like every single mech, like a lot of people are comparing this to Orion. Honestly, it's a really bad comparison. This mech is not even close to Orion, honestly. You need to walk out in the open in order to use the ability. What you have to keep in mind of, you need to expose yourself for at least a few seconds to walk out in the open. And we already know bots in this game are crazy. You walk out open for a few seconds, they just shoot you instantly. It's crazy bots. So you're just dead. So that no matter how much HP you have, you're gonna be dead instantly. So like, what is the use of this ability anyways? It's just the question to me. It's useless against mods, it's useless against Eclipse. Obviously everyone uses Eclipse. And it's like the status effect does not bypass mods. The ability doesn't do any damage at all. It's basically negative damage output. I don't see any use of this ability. And if you're using Silverthorn, if you people have got Silverthorn from the Gatecrasher event a while back, I would say it's not worth using. It's garbage. Just take it off your hanger. Like any of these epic mechs would do better. Any of these epic mechs will do 1,000 times better than Silverthorn. If you have it in your hanger, take it off. Take it off immediately. It's a really bad idea for hanger. So that's it for the implant guide. I hope this was useful to everyone. Before I end this video, I'll just talk about the season pass really quick. So today we have like got to finish the battles and get this event. I would recommend everyone to go for the fortune keys. Fortune keys are very important. The skins are garbage. Avoid the skins. The skins are not that good important in general. I would go for the fortune keys. Fortune keys are really good. You can just spin the 10 vault and get A coins. Very useful. If you're a pay to win player and you bought the gold pass or wondering which implant to go for, again, I would go for this implant, the Days EMP. The quad rocket is useless. Nobody uses Onyx, and damage implant is kind of like whatever. It's not important. So I would go for the Days and EMP. This is a really useful implant for Hemlock and definitely worth getting if you have paid for it. If you're not paid for it, you don't need to bother about this. If you have paid for this battle pass, then you could, I would say this is the best option for the people who have paid for this battle pass, I'd say. So yeah, that's it for the implant guide for all the mechs. Hope it was useful to everyone. Thank you all for watching.